Scott Eggleston is back with us today.
Hello.
Gene and Roger talk
that's
movies.
Scott right there in the middle.
For the first time in
Roger's over there.
2026.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast or wherever the heck else you get your podcast, because we're everywhere, you can't see our lovely faces. But we're talking today Alone. It was a recommendation by director Scott Eggleston. Came out in 2020. It's available actually for free on Tubi, should you choose to want to watch this thing, or you can pay
You have to
money.
pay for Tubi, right?
No, it's free.
Commercials.
Free.
then
That's
you get
commercials.
commercials.
I hate that
Right.
nonsense. I'm about to quit my Amazon Prime account because I hate commercials.
Oh, if you just give them more money, they'll do
That's
commercials.
a
Hey, I will
racket.
say, Bad
not-
Bones is also on Tubi, and I make the most money from Tubi. So
Oh.
commercials are good.
I'm not playing that game.
Well, and I'm glad you-
I grew up in the 70s. No, I'm done with that.
I'm glad you brought up Bad Bones, because
Oh.
that is an episode we reviewed thoroughly way back in episode 14. That is Scott's,
Like that was wasn't that like 2005
I-
we did that?
it's a
Seems
long
so
time
long
ago.
ago.
Well, it was.
It came out in 2022, so I don't
But-
think it was that long ago. But
2022, 2005.
But
It's
definitely
same.
check that film out. But today we're talking
Yes.
about Alone.
Yeah.
Let's get right in. Gene, where are you at with Alone?
Yeah, Roger. I'm just checking out some of the production studios. You always see the names of the production studios at the beginning of the movies. And the first one was Magnet. And Roger, when I checked this out, it kind of made me think of you. Because Magnet produced probably your favorite horror movie of all time.
Bambi? Is it Bambi?
Not Bambi, but there's for some reason, somebody had the idea that there was a big tire rolling down a freeway. And this tire has demonic powers, and it just causes destruction wherever
Is that
it
rubber?
goes.
Is that
Rubber.
Rubber.
Yeah,
Scented
Magnet
tire,
produced
yes.
rubber, yeah.
Yeah. And did you see that, Gene?
Yes, I got through
Okay.
about halfway, and I'm just like, I'm done.
All right. That is a great movie.
Maybe we could review that.
We should,
We should.
probably.
Another.
I'd watch that. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer.
Another Magnet.
See, and
film.
this would be a good one for you to have a repeat episode, Scott, where you come back and watch that one with
Okay.
us.
That's
So,
such a bizarre concept. How can you
It's
not
a
watch
great.
it?
It's a great idea. I
Killer
love-
tire.
well, and it's
I love
very
creativity.
it's very surreal in how they present it. So there's like this group of people that are watching the action unfold as if we are them as the viewer.
Oh.
It's very interesting.
It's pretty
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
It's a cousin to Killdozer, maybe?
Well, no, Killdozer is its own special thing
Okay.
too, which we could also do on this
Well,
show.
we reviewed what the car.
the
Well,
car,
that's
yeah.
a lost episode.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
The lost episode of
Lost
the car. But
episode.
anyway, I'm getting concerned about our review of Alone because we
Because I'm
are
talking about
5
other
minutes
things.
in and we haven't. So this could be good or it could
I
be
do
bad.
have to say though, also XYZ Films also was as producer credit, and they made one of the greatest action films of all time, in my opinion. I think Roger, you would agree, is The Raid.
Oh yeah.
The Raid is If you like action, I know we're getting way off topic, but if you like action and you haven't seen The Raid, there's something wrong with you. So go see The Raid right now.
I
if
have not
you-
seen The Raid. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my gosh!
I'll have
It's
to
just
watch it now.
Yeah.
I've
Action.
Heard of it, yeah.
Action, one of the best action movies.
No, my
Ever.
favorite part
Ever.
my favorite part of The Raid is the very beginning when he's saying goodbye for the day to his pregnant wife. and then it's just complete chaos. after
Man,
that.
just-
dude.
Yeah, it's calm for like what 30 seconds,
Yeah,
and then it's just chaos.
Bye,
Yeah.
honey. I'll see you tonight.
Okay, go back to this movie. So this movie, like I categorize it. I'm going to give it a little preface. There are things that I really dislike about this movie, but there are also some things that I really like about this movie as well. So it has a little duality for me. Like it reminded me, we reviewed Primate last week, and Primate was big, terrible in this thing. In this way is that, we watch movies and we suspend our disbelief. Of course, we're in a movie theater and of course, it's not real. It's a dumb movie. But as things unfold on the screen, they set up their own universe. But everything still has to exist within what I call the realm of possibility. Like it has to be able to exist. And this movie has lots of things that really, to me, don't seem to exist in the realm of possibility. And so when things like that happen, it really blows it for me. It's just like, and for a list, I have a list. Like the guy, he locks a woman in a dungeon, which is reminiscent of a lot of movies we've seen. And but he uses this really old-fashioned 1940 styles keys. Like what? Like and then they find themselves in the forest, and they go on this hunt. And then she finds this hunter, and she thinks she's saved. And the hunter's driving to escape in his Subaru, and then all of a sudden there's a tree. What? It's like he just came. He just drove down this road to get into the forest to hunt. No more than likely he's been there a million times, and then is driving out the same way he came in, and there's a tree.
Well, he does have a line of dialogue indicating he doesn't know where he is. So there's that.
I'm not. Yeah, I was just not.
How should I know?
It seems inconvenient. Yeah, and there's rainforest, right? It's shot in the Portland area. It's really raining. She escapes the serial killer, Sam, I guess, by jumping in a river. But her clothes seem remarkably dry. And then for some reason, they have really strong cell connection in the middle of the Oregon forest. So, yeah, I felt...
cell
yeah.
connection.
So, and I don't know, there's like, it has artificial tension, what I thought. This is like, there's one part where Jess, the girl, that she's trying to escape from the serial killer guy, and then she's in her car, this Volvo with a trailer, and then she's about to escape and get on the road, and then all of a sudden this white van just stops right in the middle of the intersection. I'm just like, what? And it builds tension and all that, but it just seems fake to me because that never happens in real life. It's like really? And then finally there's this scene where the serial killer is stalking her on the road, which again is a lot of movies that we've seen. And then he stops on this road, but he doesn't stop like off, pull to the side. He's blocking the whole road, and it's not even a road. There's no lane markers in the middle. I don't even know what this thing is. It's not a highway that you would be traveling on. See, it's just artificial to me. So it kind of like blows the movie's credibility. So saying that, there are some things I really like. The serial killer, Sam, he's super creepy. He's consistently creepy. He's a very Ted Bundy kind of character. I like how they divide the movie into different parts. They call it the road, the river, the rain, the clearing, right? Clearing, yeah. And then there's the parts where Jess is in a closet while Sam is casually cutting cheese with his foreshadowed big knife, which I thought. And the movie has this heartbeat soundtrack, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And so, but you feel satisfied at the end that there's a final girl and she triumphs, and so, and are there suspenseful parts? Yes. And do they outweigh the negative parts? And I don't know, but I would say, would I watch this movie again? Probably not, but do I give it a thumbs down or do I hate it? No, I don't. I think those good parts maybe outweigh those negative parts for me. So I give it a recommendation.
Gene, in the first 10 minutes or so, did you assume right away that U-Haul was a primary funder of this film? My God, kind of. They just have like this camera fetish with showing the YouTube trailer. It's like, wow.
Well, it's low budget. They use Pay-Per-Click Limited and Millhouse Production. Those are really small production studios. And Paperclip is all about helping like new projects get off the board. So it's low budget, I thought. Yeah. So what does it cost to rent a U-Haul?
No, I know. I just thought it was just crazy how often they made sure you saw that.
I mean, if it were me, you bet I'd be showing that trailer. Like, thanks for the money. Here's your advertisement.
Right. Scott, where are you at with this one?
I clearly like this movie a lot more than Gene did, but I will say that in my opinion, the first 2/3 of this movie are incredibly suspenseful. I thought they did a really good job with the suspense. I will admit it's flawed. It has its issues, most notably in the third act. There's a scene where the killer gives this speech, this monologue that I timed it the second time I saw this movie, and it was 5 minutes long. That scene.
They're in the forest.
They're in the forest. She's like up to her eyeballs in frigid water after being shot, after stepping on that root with her foot.
Right.
So which
another thing.
I totally agree with you about. The suspension of disbelief kind of goes away, especially that last scene where they have the mano a mano battle, and her body's already been incredibly destroyed, and yet she still has the energy to fight a full-grown older guy that's only only has minor wounds. However, I do give this movie a lot of credit because I thought the suspense was really good for the first 2/3 up until that speech. I thought it was very solid. And I do give the movie props for the pacing because it keeps changing its location. When she
like
ends up in that dungeon, I'm like, oh no, we're stuck in this room now for the rest of the movie.
Right.
Not that you can't make a good movie that way, but we have all seen those movies, and I probably made them too. You got one location, you're stuck in this room, and you got to make the whole movie there. But she gets away. Yeah, and I tried to not show that all the time, but same thing here is like the movie keeps moving, and I was impressed that she gets away fairly quickly.
Yeah,
she does,
and then the story continues in other places. I was also really impressed that this movie has a lot of nods to other movies.
Lots.
Which I love that when a filmmaker does that. At the beginning, I mean, it was Steven Spielberg's Duel, clearly.
Right.
It was a nod to that. You had Butch and Sundance when she jumps into the river, which I thought was an awesome scene because
that was pretty cool.
She's trying to get away. Her foot's wounded. And she gets to that riverbank, and he's right there looking at her. And they're like, this far away from each other. And I think I said it out loud. I'm like, I take my chances in the river. And she jumps. And that was an awesome moment. It was an awesome moment. So, like I said, I do think it loses steam in the third act because it does get kind of unbelievable, especially the fight scene at the end, which it was not believable. And I was kind of hoping, considering I thought the first 2/3 was a pretty smartly written script, but they kind of go for a conventional fight at the end, which wasn't realistic, considering a lot of what I felt was realistic. And in fact, interesting you bring up, the key thing, because that's like right out of a 1940s movie, where you poke the key out.
Yeah,
it has
exactly.
to stay in there.
Exactly.
One thing I will say about this movie before Roger takes over is watching it again last night, I noticed in the end credits, this was based on another movie. Like right there in the closing credits, it says this is based on a Swedish film.
Film.
So of course I had to watch the Swedish film to see how it compared. And fortunately, this movie's the remake is much better. Actually, they've inserted a lot of action, a lot more viscera, a lot more suspense. The Swedish film kind of gets stuck in the forest for a long time. They introduce another character, which is unnecessary, I thought. But I thought this was a decent movie worth seeing. Again, the suspense is really good for the first 2/3. I felt it was really good. It didn't work for you, obviously, but worked for me. So.
Parts worked for sure. I was kind of not so disbelieving in the fight scene, except for one thing, is that she uses a crowbar quite extensively. And she hits the guy in the head with the crowbar. And I think hitting in the head with the crowbar, even if you're a big, tough guy, you're going to be pretty incapacitated.
That's true. He is, pretty beat up. But she should have been, she had one bite of a sandwich and a drink of water in the movie. She should have had no energy. She was sleeping, but she was bleeding, starving.
Well, and we don't really know how long she's been out in the woods.
That's
by
true.
the end.
That's true.
Well, the hunter she finds, he gives her a sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, I think
goat cheese sandwich.
Goat cheese. But I'm willing to overlook that because then at the end she seems to believe in herself, and the power of adrenaline's quite large. It's either do this or die. So I'm willing to. I
just thought the ending, the first 2/3 was too smart for that ending. I thought they should have spun it somehow, and even in the Swedish version, it's more realistic because in that version he's on top of her and he's carrying a knife and she pulls out his knife and kills him with it. That was more believable, even though maybe not as visceral as what we saw, but anyway.
Yeah, I guess going back to me, but I thought the whole movie was kind of flawed, and then that fight scene at the end was flawed, but the amount of flaws throughout kind of remained consistent, if I could put it that way.
Less flawed for me, but
yeah. So, but
anyway.
But the goodness of this movie kind of balanced that out, I thought.
Yeah, I understand why Scott recommended this movie because it is right in his wheelhouse as far as here's what you can do with a low budget, a limited cast, and just you're out in the woods. I'm not really clear who this movie is for. I think if you're really into true crime stuff, you maybe would like this movie a lot more than I did. I think the creepy setup and stuff with Weird Guy, I don't know how you would react as a real human being in that situation. It just seemed too contrived, like Gene put out with suddenly he's parked in the street. He's got his arm in a sling now, and what is he doing? He's trying to lure people into, to kill them. I just was not jiving with this movie. Normally, horror to me, there's like a fun element, or how far are they going to push this movie? Like, Martyrs, for example. How far are we really going to go here? Or other fun movies, Bambi the Reckoning. It's just a wacky mutated deer, right? This one sits in this weird area where we want to be really visceral and disturbing and dark. And I'm just not there with this movie. I brought up the whole U-Haul thing where, the first 15 minutes of this movie is just, let's make sure we get all the shots of the U-Haul because they've obviously paid us some money to do it. Well, and I think
her stuff's in the U-Haul trailer.
No, I get it, but I also think they get her into that dungeon thing, and you're right. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to turn into a Saw movie now, and there's this fear of rape going on here in this thing too, where you think he's going to do that. But then the very next scene, she takes this nail that's somehow embedded in this piece of wood out, frees herself, and then she's out. And so my question then is, once she got out into the woods, that's basically the end of the movie because there's no legitimate scenario where this guy would ever find her again if she just hid somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, yeah. Even when he's giving his big speech there and she's there, she didn't really have to leave again until he wandered off. Magically, she runs across him multiple times in the forest, which makes no sense to me at all. The second she jumped into that water and was swept away, that's the end of the movie. Then it's just, how is she going to get out of the woods and find her way back to civilization? There's no scenario where she's going to run into this guy again. This guy is not some professional forest tracker guy or anything like that. So the movie kind of lost it for me there. There's scenes where he just shows up. There's no scenario where that would really have happened. Mm. And so it just kind of lost me there. And so I guess I needed some sort of fantastical element in this movie to explain how this character could run into this girl so readily. And of course, it's not there. It's grounded in as real as it can be. I really do like the set that they just magically found, because I'm assuming they did not burn that forest to the ground, where, let's do our final confrontation here. Yeah. Very cool.
That's very cool.
That they scouted that location and found that location and were able to use it, because the stuff is all good. The settings are all good. The camera work is all good. Yeah, but the movie itself, I was really just... okay, let's get to the end so we can just end this, because I'm not feeling any danger towards this girl at all, because he could have killed her multiple times. He didn't. And then she does weird things, like gets in the back of his vehicle and stuff.
Also in the Swedish version.
Yeah. And nice. This is the type of horror film that's just not one that I jive with. It's trying to be realistic, but it's not going far enough in its deprivation. And it's not light and funny, like something like Return of the Living Dead, for example. It's just this weird outlier. If you really like true crime, you'll probably like this, but I didn't.
Magnet also did Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Right, which is, and so there's just kind of what I was talking about. That's a fun horror comedy. It knows what it wants to do. This one, I'm just not sure what it's trying to do. What am I supposed to feel when I'm watching this? I'm not scared. I'm not nervous or anxious for her. I'm actually fixated on the U-Haul truck that keeps getting shown.
That was just at the beginning.
I know, but away.
It goes away just weird because she wrecks that car and then she wrecks that trailer.
Like you guys brought up, she gets shot.
Yep.
And it's a plot armor wound where apparently it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and a lot of things this movie has.
And she gets shot with like a .300 rifle. That thing is, that dude's out there killing big game.
Yeah, it's probably 30-06, yeah.
And it's nothing. It's just, it doesn't matter.
And we've seen that in a lot of horror movies, unfortunately. That's a very tropey.
Well, it is,
can somehow keep going even while they're
so many horror movies are on a lighter tone. For example, when stuff like that is happening, This one is trying to be grounded in some sort of reality. She should not have been shot at all, or maybe the guy should have thought he shot her because the crack goes off and she falls down because she's kind of stunned by that. And he's then saying, I've shot you. And she's maybe looking at herself going, oh, no, I haven't been shot.
And then there's no blood anywhere, but clearly
or
there's
graze
blood
or something. But
so anyway.
Well, I will say another thing I liked about this movie that we really haven't touched upon. I mean, you said you didn't feel any fear for her, but I think the movie did a really good job showing her apprehension that this guy is like coming out of nowhere and trying to talk to her. Like the scene where he approaches her at the window, which I thought was a nod to Psycho when the cop is talking to Jana Lee on the side of the road, because the way it's shot, I really like the way it was shot. In fact, different from the Swedish film where she like rolls her window down all the way, which I didn't understand. Yeah. But in this one, the window
she has a crank window.
Yeah, an old Volvo. But the window goes down just to like at like nose level. And I really like the way the shot selection in that scene was, where then you have a close up of him with a wide lens, so he looks real extra creepy, and the window's kind of cutting him across the face, and he's looking right into the lens or at us, which again reminded me of the Psycho scene. And I really liked the way that was done. I thought she reacted. This whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking this is the reason when women are asked that question, would you rather run into a man or a bear in the woods, is because you got guys like this that are super creepy and trying to connect with her, which I thought they did a good job. Like he keeps coming, right? Like she's in the rest area, and I thought the film did a good job at using that Jeep, for example, as a suspense device because it keeps appearing.
Right, it's Jeep Cherokee.
Yes, also in the Swedish film, it was a Jeep Cherokee.
Really?
Yeah, and although I was happy that they rolled it in this movie, at the end you get a nice action stunt scene. This Cherokee gets wrecked. Because in the other movie, nothing happens to it, unfortunately. But yeah, it gets wrecked. There's lots more action in the American version for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I liked the fact that they did kind of focus on her, because a lot of times in movies, the main character who's a woman does nonsensical things. And I thought it was pretty realistic. Like when he's parked in the middle of the road, also in the Swedish version, to block her from driving around.
And it's sideways?
Yeah. She drives around anyway, but he approaches and says, "Hey, I just need," he's obviously got his arm in a sling. So
it's fake.
Right, it's fake. But she's clearly distressed by him, as you should be, because she doesn't know who this guy is, and he's trying to get into her car. In fact, in the Swedish version, he says, "Why is your door unlocked?" or "Why is your door locked?" Yeah. And he's trying to open sticking his hand in. I thought the film did a good job with that, as well as building her character. Her husband killed himself, and which we don't know about until he's like on top of her in that basement, which I thought was a really effective scene. So I will give the movie, I thought the acting was really good. It's a two-hander, and you got to have good actors to pull this off, because that's all you're stuck with, except for the one, the Robert character who was
just a kindly old man.
Recognizable. He was a recognizable face. He was the guy in Silence of the Lambs, that Hannibal Lecter was going to have for dinner at the end of the movie. That was that actor, Anthony Held, I think his name is.
Oh, okay, the hunter.
Yes, yeah. Robert, who you knew was going to die.
Yeah,
as soon as he picked her up, like, oh, dead. You're dead.
Disposable guy.
So, I mean, yeah, I can see for you guys it didn't work for you, but I thought it was pretty good up until that speech, and that kind of drained all the tension out of the movie for me.
I thought that speech was kind of indicative of his character, and I liked it because I saw that guy as completely manipulative, a guy that everything that comes out of his mouth is a total lie. He's just selfish, trying to do whatever he can to get her, and so he knows that she is within earshot. He knows that, and she is. And so I think he's doing whatever he can using his words to try to get her to come out.
I agree, but it goes on way too long.
I don't think it does. I think it just shows, and I think it's what, in a way, what carries this movie is his creepiness, and that his what he does to try to be victorious with these women he captures. It's part of his what he does, his MO. So I'm okay with that. Mm. Yeah, I think.
What did you think about that speech, Roger?
I think that carries the movie. Actually.
Or were you out of the movie by this point?
So
anyway?
the speech part, I would have liked it to have been, because he says you've got 1 minute, and I would have liked his speech to have been exactly 1 minute long, right? And then we're just gonna go on from here. But by that time, I'm just like, okay, let's get going. Let's get to the big confrontation at the end, because there's really nothing here for me. at all. Although I do enjoy the dual life that this guy is living. So there's a couple sequences throughout the film where he is talking to his wife who is back home wherever.
Yep.
He's set up this ruse that he's on some business trip to Mexico or wherever the heck he is, but actually he's in Oregon stalking people to kill them. He talks to his daughter on the phone and all this stuff. So I did like that where, okay, this is another level of creepiness here, because we all know in actual true cases there were people like that have this dual life where
famously now the Gilgo Beach killer in Long Island, New York, who's on trial right now. He did that very same thing. He was an architect in Manhattan.
Well, and of course,
had a life, and on the side he killed women.
Well, and of course here in Alaska we have the infamous Robert Hansen, who would fly women out to remote islands and
he had a family.
Them. And he had his little bakery and all that, and nice guy and all that.
Nice guy.
No, he isn't,
Right.
And so it's trying to be reality based. I don't necessarily need my horror to be that, and this one kind of bored me ultimately. Just please get to the end so we can have the conflict.
I will say the reason that I wanted to see this movie was the scene where which is a great scene, by the way, where she calls his wife on the phone. Now, how she unlocked his phone, I don't know. Right. is a problem, because before at least she was making emergency calls. You can do that with any phone, call 911. But now she calls his wife because somehow his phone is unlocked. However, I saw that scene that came up on my YouTube feed, just the scene where, she says, "My name is Jessica Swanson, and if you don't hear from me, your husband murdered me." That's a great scene. It's a great moment. Now, why he didn't rush her while she had the phone, I don't know. But that scene, and it's also in the Swedish version as well, it's just done better here. Just made me want to see it just because I thought the writing was so good.
Well, and I think too, Scott, right there, why didn't he rush her? Because his entire ruse is now falling apart there, right? Yeah, he doesn't know how to react now because suddenly his control has been removed from him.
Right, because that's never happened. I agree with Rogers that his whole life is just in one scene at the beginning of that scene where she is talking to his wife. All that's just gone. Whoosh, what do I do now? Half my life has been taken away from me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's stunned. Yeah, I can go with that.
So, Scott, go ahead.
I was just going to say, after seeing it twice and seeing that ending, the fight scene and everything, I also wondered, would the movie have been better if they would have ended it with her saying, "If you never hear from me again, your husband murdered me," or maybe have the helicopter coming over at that time or something to get away from that fight scene that was visceral and exciting and everything, but just wasn't believable. And considering what preceded it, I was hoping for a better ending.
So that's interesting you say that, because had they done that artistically, it probably would have made some waves. Me personally, I would have been very angry because it's come on, let's go. Nothing else in the movie is setting me up for this kind of artistic style ending. I need to see the battle at the end and who wins.
Yeah, and they showed that knife earlier. So as a director, I think you once said that if a movie shows a knife somewhere in a movie,
Chekhov's gun.
You got to see it later, and so that knife appears later. So I was really happy to see that knife later.
Scott, anything further to say about Alone?
Well, I hated the title. Also, in fact, the Swedish version was also translation in English was Gone. And I've expressed to you guys my feelings about really generic titles, because as I told you when I sent this to you, I said there's other movies made in the same year called Alone, and in fact I started watching the wrong one, thinking it was this one. So I didn't like that.
Isn't there a Robert Redford movie where he's alone on a boat?
That's All Is Lost.
Oh, okay.
The whole movie is just Robert Redford, which is another interesting movie. Again, I think the movie had a lot of emotional gravitas that the Swedish version did not. Again, right from the outset, they just hit the suspense right away, which, didn't work for everybody. Obviously, it worked for me. I like the nods to other movies. I think the one I didn't mention that I thought of was Predator. Because after they roll the car, she crawls out into the mud and gets totally covered.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make her invisible like in Predator,
Right.
but I thought that was interesting. It just tells me that the filmmaker is a cinephile, and likes other movies.
Well, it's
And-
funny.
Definitely.
It's funny you mentioned that because my thought process was the ending of Descent, or the American ending of Descent,
thought of
where
Descent
she's
as
crawling
well.
out and she's covered
Yeah,
with
I thought
mud
of
and
Descent.
stuff, and the whole ordeal she's gone through and things like that. But Scott, also your Theater of Pain, which you've been working feverishly on, when can
Oh my gosh.
when can we expect to see that?
I've got April is a premiere date at Anchorage Community Theater that I'm shooting for. So it's pretty much picture locked right now. So now I can move on to sound and special effects and things like that. But yes, it's finally moving. Probably because I'm setting a deadline for myself.
Well, I like that.
You
And
should get Paperclip involved because it's like they help new projects come to life. That's their deal.
Oh. Needs more stunt work probably for my.
will there be a red carpet premiere?
Yeah, for everybody that worked or contributed to the movie, such as yourself.
Oh, I did.
Yes, in fact, you're listed as an associate producer.
That's
of the
damn
movie.
right. Yeah, I'm big time Hollywood now.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we're gonna have
How
a
come he gets
showing.
credit and I don't get any.
I gave him money.
Yeah, he helped
Oh,
with the
yeah.
crowdfunding
Oh.
campaign that the brief one that I ran. Yeah, we're gonna have a screening for everybody that worked on the movie or was involved in it somehow,
Nice.
and then a separate one, like a public.
But I can
screening
come,
after
right?
that. Of course.
I can come. Oh, thanks.
Come to the
I-
public
Well, yeah.
screening.
If Roger
welcome.
goes to the screening,
Okay,
Gene has
yeah.
to go because then we
That's
can
right.
sit down and talk about the
Yeah.
movie. But
yeah,
no,
that'll
so-
be an episode. Yeah.
And then, did you take my advice and do some research where you just amped up the gore? No, I don't have that kind of.
There's some
producing power.
mild gore in it, but I didn't add anything. Like I didn't even go back and say, we need to add more, sex
Roger,
and
even
blood
this
to this.
movie had a little bit of gore, like when she takes a bite out of his arm. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
part.
didn't through his jacket. I don't.
I like
it's adrenaline.
The root sticking out of her
root,
foot was way
yeah,
more
which,
effective.
my God, girl, you rammed that root through
Oh,
your
yeah.
foot.
Oh.
Holy crap, man.
That was some
Yeah.
very good practical effect, I must admit.
Yeah, that was good.
for
But I
sure.
did appreciate the viscera in this movie because you got things like that shot. You got them rolling the car. You've got the river. Again, none of that stuff was in the original version.
Yeah, I like
This
when
is-
she drove her car halfway off the road. I thought that
Yeah.
may seem benign, but that is actually a really good stunt. That's
Yeah,
pretty
and
good.
believable. I mean, she did.
It's believable.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how U-Haul felt about that scene.
Well, and that's funny, yeah, because I'm like, clearly the beginning is all about U-Haul, and now the U-Haul gets a
the
flat,
guy-
which causes her to crash, which then gets her hooked up with a serial killer.
Oh, and I do want to say that the name of the actress is Jules Wilcox. I thought she was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
she
watch
was
another
good.
movie with her. And same thing with the creepy guy. The smug creep is what I called him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gene, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Watch it. I watched it. $3.99 rental, Prime, or no, Apple TV.
Okay.
But I guess you can watch it free on Tubi with commercials.
Yep, that's the way to watch this one. That way, if you're like me and are just like, okay, I'm not feeling it, it's free. You can just shut it off. Go on.
No,
Don't
it's-
shut it off.
I think you'll like it. I think if you just turn it on and you watch, I think you'll like it. But it makes me think that you brought it up that this is a remake of Swedish. Because what's that other Swedish horror movie that totally the name escapes me? But the Swedish version was a lot better than the American.
Is that the
version.
mother with the bandaged face? Was it that one?
No, it's the horror movie where they were the couple, the married couple with a kid that they're befriended by another couple with a kid, and they were brought to his house.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't
because the American version changed the whole premise or the ending where they win rather than sacrifice themselves.
Right. In that one, the Swedish version was tremendously better.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. We do so many movies and then we're forgetting the title of that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sometimes original foreign films are much better than the American remake. Of course, Gene and I go back and forth all the time where he loves the American Ring. I way prefer the original Japanese version of that.
We could talk.
Yeah.
No, the American version is so much better. The Japanese version has no special effects, and it's just like when the kids are killed, they just put the funny expression on their face, like,
And so if you,
know,
ever
it's
want to
like-
get a rise out of Gene, just do what I just did right there. And now
talking
look, off he goes again.
Ringu. Is that what-
Yeah.
Ringo,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the whole thing, Ringo does a lot of telling. Movies, you got to show. You got to show, not tell. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's all I'm
Japanese
gonna say.
versions is way better. Gene, any what are we doing next week?
I don't know. We haven't got that far, have we?
No, I love ending shows this way where
However,
We
You
know what
mentioned
we're
some
gonna
movies
do.
earlier that we should watch, right?
XYZ did a movie called Anna and the Apocalypse. We could watch that. Although I know you would hate
What
it.
about the tire movie?
we could
We
do,
could
well,
watch Rubber. We could do.
So
do
can
Rubber.
you come back next Saturday and record Rubber?
I can't come back next Saturday. I'm installing a bunch of cameras at Anchorage Community Theater.
Okay. Well, would you like
interesting.
us to delay that particular
Sure.
film so you could be on? Okay, so we're not doing that one next week.
Did we do VHS? Bagnet also did
Oh,
VHS.
do you really want to go down that road of VHS? Do you know what that is?
It's the found footage. I know.
Well, it's a whole bunch of little films
Anthology,
to make
yeah.
one big film. A lot of them.
Yeah, but it's in the wheelhouse. 90 minutes, right? Okay, we won't do
So
it.
Gene
Your-
and I,
your
Gene and I
sign,
are
your
going to
sign.
talk about something off camera and get it figured out. So we will definitely.
We could.
will-
There's a sci-fi movie called Watch the Skies. It's a XYZ, which I've seen, which is not bad.
We're going to be back next week with something. We don't know what it is. Scott, thanks so much for coming on. It's
Oh, yeah.
always
Thanks for
a
having
joy to have you on. You're one of our favorite guests.
Oh, thanks.
And definitely looking forward to Theater of Pain when it comes out. Excited to review that one on the show as well.
Yeah.
So we will catch you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.